Yes. So what can I do for you?
So basically this whole thing, my brother is Muslim. He converted 1 year ago.
Okay.
He's the one that's been watching your videos. Me personally, I cannot. I know there is some things, and I have all of my friends are basically Muslim.
Okay.
I love to talk about it. The only thing basically is, of course, there's beautiful things in Islam that I agree with, but for me, some of the things you guys, believe in, like some of the things Quran says, the Hadith says, there's some things, I cannot agree. Like, for example, do you just answer my questions with you? Yeah, you can go ahead. Sorry.
Before you give me an example, I was asking, what do you believe yourself? Like, are you religious? Are you following a religion? What are you?
For me, I would say I'm mostly atheist.
Okay.
But for me, I cannot, I do not disbelieve or disbelieve in something.
Sure.
Even if there is a God.
Sure.
I would never, let's say, I would never connect that, higher being to being the God you guys believe in. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. Okay. So you're going to give an example, yes, of what?
Yeah, so
you disagree with or whatever? Yes.
So, for example, let's say you guys call Muhammad the perfect human example, right? He's the one you should follow, right?
Or no? Yes.
Yeah.
No. I was just kind of expecting where it's coming, so I'm gonna let you say it anyways.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, of course. So you probably know this better than me. Would you say in his life he was in wars, right?
Okay.
He was some people would call him a warlord, right? I would never, a warlord. He was a commander in some ways, right?
What does the word warlord mean? What does the word warlord mean?
I would call warlord just.
I'm asking a question. Yes. What does it mean?
Someone that just goes to war, who always acts on war, goes to war all the time, but he was never the one that, I guess, some people or some Muslims say he never.
Not some Muslims say, historically.
Okay, historically, it was always defensive, right?
And we don't say always, but yes. Okay, so if the Prophet,
most of the time.
So if the Prophet was not always waging war against other nations around him, then according to you, he's not a warlord, is what you're saying.
No, like I said, most people would call him a warlord. I wouldn't consider him, but
I don't know why you're concerned about most people. We're just talking about facts now. That's why I'm asking you. Definition of a warlord. You said you gave a definition. You said someone who was always waging wars against people around, is trying to always fight for power. Now you said Prophet Muhammad didn't do that according to history, and history is fact and objective. It's not opinions. Therefore, he's not a warlord with your own admission. So all of these people you're talking about are wrong. Essentially.
Yeah, but why would I'm not
based on your standard? Why would based on your standard?
Like I said, I would. You guys call him the perfect human. Let me go back, as I was just rambling about.
Sure.
So basically, for example, could you explain to me about war slaves? What happened when the Muslims took people as war slaves or war captures? What would happen to them? Either male or female, but of course the female part is what I'm most interested in about. So what would happen to these people that the Muslims took as captives?
I honestly, I have a video on that, and I'm already going to upload another, and I'm already going to upload another video. Well, if you're asking a question, you can watch that video for an answer. If you're asking me for a question, then obviously you can watch my video which has details and answers instead of me repeating the same thing again. I didn't ask you to watch my videos. Okay. You're asking a question. So in that in these videos, I've already went into extensive detail about this, but I'll give you a basic overview, a very quick overview of the issue. Anyways, there's no such thing as slaves. The Prophet prohibited calling war captives slaves. They can go free by doing something called mukataba. They can go and ransom themselves and go free. So they're not owned by the person. He cannot hit them.
Sorry. Wait. They can do what? What is it called?
It's something called mukataba. As I said, look, I just give you a summary without you.
Yeah. But what do you do when you do that?
Yeah, you gotta let me speak without interrupting me.
Oh, sorry.
So you can understand what I'm trying to say. Okay. So if you want extensive, that's what I'm saying. If you want expensive detail, you can watch the video instead of me right now explaining every extensive detail and going through the same process again. Mukataba is where someone can go to a judge and ransom himself, meaning give money in order for him to go free. They can do that. So therefore, those individuals who are captives of war are not owned by the individual because they can go. Mm-hmm. It's not slavery. And they're not called slaves because the Prophet prohibited that. You have to feed them from what you eat, whether you eat caviar, whatever you eat. You got to feed them caviar as well in the morning. Whether you wear Gucci and Armani, they have to wear Gucci and Armani as well. You clothe them from what you wear. That's what the Prophet said, by the way. That's not what we're saying. That's what the Prophet told us. You cannot hit them. Or there is one person who hit a captive, and then the Prophet forced him or commanded him to free that person. So you cannot do any of that. So these are captives of war that are taken. Know that those captives of war, the leader of the Muslims can do many things. Can ransom them for other prisoners, can ransom them for money, give them to the enemy and take money. He can let them go free. He can execute them because they're coming to kill him anyways. They're coming in war. Or they can be taken as captives. All of these are options. But those captives, when they're taken, that's what happens to them.
But do these captives have the same rights as any other human that is not a captive?
What rights are you talking about? What do you mean by rights?
Human rights. What we call human rights today.
Well, I don't know. You got to define what is that human rights?
So there's a law. You can't discriminate against race, ethnicity, sexuality, whatever. It's a human right. You have a human right to be human, right? Would they have the same? Like you follow the law. Do they have the same rights as you do if you were a captive? I guess the captive.
Of course they don't.
Okay,
so they are going to. They were coming to kill me and my family. Like on what basis am I after capturing them?
Like that's
I said don't interrupt me when I'm explaining. With all I'm gonna repeat that respectfully, because you have to allow me to explain if you're asking me a question. Now it's very simple. Like when someone is coming to kill me and my family, I'm not obviously going to give them the same right that I have if I took them as a captor, as a captive, as a prisoner of war. Now, can you tell me which prisoner of war has the same exact rights as the person who captured him today or in human history?
Which what? Which captured?
I'll repeat that slowly again. Which captives of war in any country, in any law, today or in the past, have the same exact right as the person who captured them?
Well, I wouldn't know.
Okay, the answer is they don't exist. There's no.
Okay, but you guys are following a God, right? Like, what I'm trying to say is, if they don't have your it's very like to think that he's coming to kill my family. You guys are also coming to kill their family. War every time, foot soldiers. They are peasants. They are they don't have the knowledge. They fight for their country without knowing what they're fighting for. So it's very ignorant to say, he's coming to kill my family. This is only defense.
Okay,
he doesn't probably you get what I'm saying. If your prophet had said, he needs to pay to be free. If he doesn't pay, if he's not free, or what happens? You execute him.
Yeah, I think what's ignorant is what, with all due respect, is what you're saying. People are fighting without knowing what they're fighting for. Who fights without knowing what they're fighting for?
In the old time, I'm talking about the old times.
Again, just allow me to finish.
Propaganda was his thing.
You gotta allow me to finish.
All right.
So nobody fights without knowing what they're fighting for. They know what they're fighting for. Nobody kills another human being, tortures them, holds a weapon and points it at other people without knowing while he's in war. Soldiers know why they are in war. They know why they're fighting the other people, which is why they get all of this trauma and all of this psychological, because they know, many of them, that they're doing things which are wrong when they go to war and do the things that they do. Now, that's the first thing. Second thing is, yes, you're also coming to kill them. Yes, exactly. That's why when they take our prisoners, they don't feed them from what they eat. They don't clothe them from what they wear. They don't not hit them. They don't give them a chance to go free to ransom themselves if they want. Do you know what they do to them? Like what those garbage soldiers of offensive forces in Palestine today did. They're raping prisoners.
Yeah, I don't know. When it comes to Palestine and everything, I'm all for it.
And no, I'm making a point. I'm making a point at what other countries today. I don't see you now talking about human rights and mentioning them and war and this stuff. We're talking about what they're doing today, let alone 1,400 years ago or whatever it is. Now, there is no more merciful ideology on earth other than Islam when it comes to prisoners and captives of war. Now, what you personally like, what you don't like, we're personally not interested in. Muslims are not interested in subjective opinions and what you feel and what you don't feel.
No.
Now, as an atheist, can you tell me Where do you bring right and wrong from? What is your proof? What is your criteria to determine that, let's say, doing whatever you want to do, which is not the case in Islam. Doing whatever you want to do to a prisoner for is wrong. You give me why is that wrong? Tell me.
So let's
under your worldview.
Let's first start off. We all, as humans, have emotions. Yes. All right. Okay. Yes. So when for me, for example, if someone I lose that is close to me, I feel bad, right?
Okay.
If someone in my yes, wouldn't you say that if you know it feels bad to lose someone close to you, yet you do it purposely, knowing that, okay, if I do this, I will hurt someone else, wouldn't you call that like bad? Like, okay,
no, I don't
feel
care.
bad about it.
I don't care. I'm not losing anything. I'm winning.
No. Okay, but you would factually, or just logically, you would know, like, okay, his mom or his dad will feel bad if I take this person's life.
Why does that matter to me? I'm not his mom or dad.
I don't care about you. I'm thinking, if you would think, not you, if you logically would think, you would probably say, oh, probably you would feel, but I don't care.
Yeah, but that gives me happiness. I'm happy because they're my enemies, so I'm happy when my enemies are upset.
No, okay, you are that, but like the whole world would agree that you would agree.
The whole world doesn't agree, my friend.
So you wouldn't agree.
I'm asking you, what is your criteria? No, again, look,
lose a parent.
You need to understand something very important here. We're talking hypotheticals now. So when I'm responding to you, I'm obviously responding hypothetically as well. I'm just showing you what you're saying means nothing. It's not proof. I'm asking you, where's the criteria? Oh, they feel this, they feel. I don't know, who cares about what they feel? I'm asking you now a very simple question. What is the criteria of determining that this action of doing anything bad to a prisoner of war who is going to fight you and kill you and your family, doing whatever you want to them, why is that wrong? They killed my brother in war, so I'm doing the same to them. What is the problem? Why is that wrong?
If they go, you mean in war, specifically in war? We're
talking about prisoners of war, aren't we now?
Okay, yeah. So sure. I thought you just meant like just were morals and everything about that. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I did. But now I'm just using a specific question.
You changed. Okay, perfect.
No, I didn't change. We're gonna talk about your objective morals. But I'm asking about what you ask about to show the inconsistency, because you're asking about prisoners of war. So you gotta demonstrate your position when it comes to morality, when it comes to prisoners of war, under your worldview before you ask. So under your worldview,
when it comes to war, it's that's more, let's say, there is, of course, even in war, there's laws, right? There's war crimes. Okay, you can kill someone, which is weird, and I haven't decided it. But, you go into war today, like, for example, you see the Ukrainian war against the Russian, they go into war to defend something. They can kill someone, but there's stuff you can't do, right? You can't just, whatever. You can't rape, you can't do all that. That's war crimes.
I'm not asking you about any of that. I'm asking you about your justification and evidence for saying that it's wrong. Why is it wrong for me to do whatever I want with the prisoner of war that I captured in a war in a country that we're fighting another country? Why is that wrong under your worldview?
No, wait. Why is it we're going to me? I'm talking about your religion is talking about slaves. You said if you have a war captive, they don't have the same right. A slave is
exactly. So the answer is you don't have an answer, right? So you have to talk about my religion, right?
What would you define as a slave? Someone that doesn't have the same rights as a human, right? But you just said
I disagree. No? Of course, where did you bring this definition from? You just make up a definition of the word. Slave has a definition. Someone who's owned by another individual and doing forced labor without compensation or without due compensation, enough compensation for them. That's a textbook definition of the word slave. You just invented another. Wait. I'm still speaking. You just invented a new definition of the word slave, and then say the slave is someone who has less rights than others. So there's many people who have less rights. No. You said someone who has less rights than others. That's what you said word for word. Now that's not a definition.
Okay, all right. Sure.
It's on video, by the way. You saying no does not change what you said. Again, I'm asking you a question which you still have not responded to. I asked you a simple question. Under your worldview, because now, as an atheist, you're not following a religion. No. Under your morality, why is it wrong for me to do whatever I want to do to my captive that I captured in war? Why?
For you to do something, because they are still humans. They have emotions.
Sure.
They have emotions.
And they killed my brother. I don't care.
If they kill you, it's about revenge. Of course, there's some things you can't just do everything. But if they killed your brother, he went to war, knowingly you would kill people. In war, it's different. In war, it's different. But when it comes to war captives, when your prophet has said you can't do stuff
look
like
again.
this.
Do you see why? This is you are a great demonstration of atheism. You cannot defend anything your ideology. You have to jump into your prophet. I responded to you already. I explained to you how it is in our worldview. But I said, now in your worldview, I asked you a simple question, which you're not able to answer. You have to keep jumping to the prophet or Islam. Because you, under your worldview, have no answer.
Okay, let's just say this. Let's just
under your worldview, you can do whatever you want.
This question. In war or in everyday life, what are we talking about here? We need to.
We're talking about the example you brought. Under your worldview,
war captives.
If you take a captive of war, someone who's you're already fighting, they killed your family members, you took a captive of war. Now you want to do whatever you want to do it to them. Now, under your worldview, or common sense, or rationality, or logic, why is that wrong?
So if, let's say, someone kills my brother, in war, I was in war, this guy killed my brother, which has nothing to do with the whole war. This is just personal, by the way. So we are not going about war, we're going to personal. Let's say he has killed my brother. For me, in logical sense, I could have, if I've been in war, I killed somebody, this is war. I probably killed someone else's brother or sister, all right? Why is me taking someone else? Because I was angry this time. This is war, by the way, Me taking someone because I was angry is still wrong, because I'm not doing it by law. Like I said, there's laws. If there is a...
Why is it wrong?
Why is it wrong? It's war. Like I'm saying, is it personal life or is it war? If it's a personal life, you can't just go and kill someone.
I'm going to repeat this for the 100th time. We already spoke about it being war, and we spoke about captives before. Why is it wrong under your worldview? Please don't repeat again what you repeated the last 4 times, which is not an answer.
All right. Okay, let's hear it.
Do you know the answer is what? You got no answer. That's the answer. But do you know why you got no answer? Because as an atheist, you got no moral criteria anyways to be saying whether something is right or wrong. All you got is your feelings, which you've been talking about for the last 20 minutes.
This is about morals.
So your feelings are not a criteria for morals. How you feel and what they felt, whether they had an uncle, they were upset, they were sad, that's not rationality.
Okay,
it's not criteria.
Because I don't have an answer, I would say too, I need to more, I'll accept it. I don't have an answer. I know personally what's good and right. When I see someone is happy, when I do something good for someone, I do it for myself and for the people, because I know their people will be happy. Let's continue with this. We will just forget. I didn't have an answer. Let's continue. When I do good stuff.
No. Before we continue, I
didn't have an answer.
I know you don't have an answer. I know, which is why I kept asking you, because you did not admit that from the beginning. You just kept going in circles, but now you did.
Because I didn't understand.
Now, since you don't have an answer, for the specifically captives of war, now let's ask the general question, which I've already asked as well. Where is your criteria for right or wrong? Before we ask any questions about right or wrong when it comes to the Prophet and Islam, you need to have a criteria, because your criteria will determine this is wrong. And then once we agree this is wrong, then I will need to explain why something which is wrong or immoral exists. Now, first, you have to demonstrate to me what is the criteria you use to determine whatever the Prophet did or whatever is in Islam is right or wrong. What is your criteria of determining something is right or wrong? Go ahead.
So when I do something good, me personally, I do something good, I know it's good. For example, when I see someone laying on the ground that needs help, I know that this person is in need of something. He needs help. I will go and help him.
And I need $1 million. So I hope you can give them to me.
I will feel good if I don't have anything to give you. Yeah.
Sure.
I have nothing. The only thing I can give you is what I have myself.
You have your house. Can I take your house? Can I take your clothes?
What I have is so this is selfish. What you're doing now is selfish. I'm trying to help you with everything I have that I can give. I cannot give you my house. Then I don't have a roof above my head. If I have a family to provide, I will not have. That's.
So it's not because someone in need you have to give them. So what you just said makes no sense.
Can I finish?
Yeah, go.
Thank you.
Sure.
So this person laying on this ground, he needs help. I will help him up. I will call an ambulance. He will feel good. Maybe he will remember me, like, oh, this person helped me out when I was in need. Okay, he didn't ask for $1 million. Maybe you would do it. He was just asking to be helped. Okay. For example, when I do it, I'm not doing it for someone. I'm doing it for myself and the person in need. You guys, now I'm talking about Muslims.
But again,
why
you gotta stop jumping to us. No. Now you're jumping to. You gotta stay on. I'll let you finish if you stay on topic. You've not given a criteria yet. And then you jumped into you guys. So I'm making sure you're still on topic. Yeah.
You're still on the moral thing.
Yeah, I'm asking you. What is your criteria?
So why did I do this? Can you explain to me why I did this? I just told you I did this because I feel good.
I know what you did. What you did. You gotta explain why you're doing what you're doing. Why you're asking me?
So this person is falling down. So why is he laid down? Let's do this just logically. If I was like that, I know he's hurt. I can see it in his face. I can see it in his expression. He is hurt. If me not helping. I asked you a simple
question. Why is there with your friend who's on the no? You cannot because you keep going in a circle. I asked you a simple question. What is your criteria? I didn't ask you to give me a hypothetical example of a guy who's laying on the floor because he doesn't. He needs food or whatever. I said, what is the criteria of determining the action of helping him is right or wrong? What is the criteria? What is the goalpost? What is the measurement that you use? Okay, this is how I know this action is stuck.
You're very stuck on the right and wrong. You're very stuck on right and wrong.
Oh no, it's not me. It's you who's coming to talk about what is wrong in Islam. You're the one who's taking it wrong. So if you are, you gotta tell us your criteria, the moral high ground you're judging from. Where is your criteria that you're using to judge Islam and the Islamic actions to be right or wrong? Go ahead.
Why I can judge it because you have set standards, right? You guys have set standards what is right and wrong. If you guys don't abide by it, that means you're just, it's a, like, what do you call it in English?
Nobody's talking about us. We're talking about you.
No. Why I can say it's a contradiction if you guys have a set right and wrong. You guys have objective moral. You don't have subjective, you have objective morals. In Islam, You have objective. It's what the Quran says, and it's what Muhammad lived by, yes?
Okay, sure.
If he then doesn't abide by these objective morals, isn't that a contradiction?
We're talking about you and your objective morality. When you brought the example, don't interrupt. When you brought the example of the Prophet, you did not bring an example of something he did that he didn't abide by. He abided by all the laws of Islam. So there is no contradictions there. You asked about you don't even know the rules of Islam when it comes to captive support. You asked about them. So there isn't
with the captures, with the females.
You gotta listen to understand what I'm saying. You gotta listen to what I'm saying first. You gotta listen to what I'm saying first in order for you to understand. Your argument was it's a contradiction if you guys set some rules and morals which are objective and not follow them. Your example was not something that we're not following. Your example was you didn't even know what our rules are. So you asked.
Right and wrongs.
You're interrupting again. So anyways, we're going to end the conversation here. And I'm going to let you, because you do interrupt every few seconds when I'm speaking. And it's not nice. All I'm going to say is this. You as an atheist, and this is what I need you to reflect on. Before you point fingers, you have no criteria of right or wrong. You only have your feelings and subjective opinions on a guy who was on the floor, he wanted food or whatever it is. You don't have an objective criteria of right or wrong. Under your worldview, if you do whatever you want to whoever you want, you cannot give it a logical, objective justification why that is wrong. So before you point fingers at the Prophet or Islam or anyone, you need to first rethink your criteria. What is the objective criteria that you can demonstrate to us where you're using as a high moral ground to tell us, oh, this is right and this is wrong? Okay? Now think about that.
Yes, wait, please.
And
let me just ask.
Because there are many people in the
back. I know.
يا قلوبا فيها الوفاء بشركم اليوم السرورا